To another Q&A. I am Coach Mack, the founding health coach of Running with Bacon, where I help women feel like themselves again via fitness, one small step at a time. And like always, I am joined with Renata.
Hello, everyone. I'm Renata from Nourish with Renata, intuitive nutrition coach, and I help women be empowered with their food choices so that they can heal their bodies, minds, and spirits.
Awesome. So good. We have a fantastic question. I'm going to read it so that I make sure and I get it verbatim the way that it was asked, because it is a really good question and something that I feel like a lot of our clients can relate to, having felt this way before. And so the question is, I'm making progress, but how do I know if it's as much progress as I should be making, considering all the effort I'm putting into getting healthy? So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I love that we have a guest speaker as well.
We do.
Would she like to answer the question first?
I think she's going to think about it a little bit longer.
Okay, good. Well, like you mentioned, this is something that I think we all think about when we're in like a health journey, whether it be weight loss or anything else. And I definitely have felt this way. And so the way that I interpret this question is almost like, I'm really frustrated. Like I'm doing all this work and I feel like I'm not making any changes in my body, such as weight loss or losing inches, et cetera, et cetera. And so first things first, if you're asking this question to yourself, or you're the one that asked Coach Mack this question, number one, we have all been there. We feel your pain and it sucks, basically. It's really frustrating. It's really confusing. It can feel really overwhelming. And so the first thing is to recognize the feelings that are coming up, because sometimes it's really easy to ignore those feelings and think like, oh, I just need to ignore it and then, keep pushing and pushing and pushing myself to the point of, say, injury or burnout. So I really want you to first recognize what are the feelings that are coming up for me right at this moment and to acknowledge them, because with acknowledgement, then we can really move forward from there. Sometimes we feel like we're not making progress in one particular measurement of success, let's say. So I love this question because it literally came to me in a somewhat different way just a couple of weeks ago. So a woman came to me saying, you know what, my weight hasn't changed over the past month, but I feel like I've been doing all of these things. I'm just not seeing the weight change. And so one of the things I recommended to her was to look at other measurements of success. These are also things that I call non-scale victories, because sometimes the scale can show the same number, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there's no changes being made. So one thing that I always like to do with all my clients, and I believe, Mack, you do this too, is measurements. So measuring various parts of your body, such as your hip circumference, waist circumference, biceps, thighs, etc. And if we're seeing measurements change over time, this is a really good leading indicator that weight will eventually change too. What's interesting is that fat, so, we have our bodies and we have this outer layer of fat. The amount of fat that we have needs to reduce before we see the scale change. And so that's really important to understand, because sometimes we think like, oh my gosh, the scale needs to change immediately. And that's not necessarily the case. We might see measurements change first and then the scale start to move. And this is really dependent on things like your body shape, your body type, etc. So look for those other ways that you can measure success, whether it be body measurements, whether it be how your clothes are fitting. Maybe it's your energy levels. These are all great things that don't need the number on the scale to show you that you're making progress. And this is the other thing that I wanted to mention, is that when we are getting healthier, whether it be from the nutrition standpoint, the fitness standpoint, or both, it is this mountain with no top. Sometimes we think, you know what, I'm going to do this exercise regimen, I'm going to do this meal plan until I get to X. And that's a great way to start out. But as you continue to move through your health journey, one of the things that we all figure out is that health and being healthy is not just something that you do, it becomes a part of who you are. And when we're living a healthy lifestyle every single day, that's when we see the maximum benefit to not just things like your scale or your weight, not just things like your body measurements, but your overall enjoyment for life. It impacts everything else that's going on. So if currently you're feeling like, man, I feel like I'm doing so much work and I'm not seeing results, look for those non-scale victories. What are other ways that you can measure success that might not just be that number on the scale? And then also look at this as the long-term goal. It's the the thing that you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. It's the choices that you make in every single moment of every single day, the consistency that's going to lead to the end result of living a happier and a healthy lifestyle. Mack, what do you think?
Love that response. You touched on so many different aspects of it. And I will say, when I first was asked this question, I pointed out to them, I said, the first thing you said was, I'm making progress, but. And to me, I was like, I get that you feel like you're working very hard. It feels like a lot of effort. I understand that. And so it might feel like you should be making more progress. But the thing that I wanted to focus on was, you are making progress. And even if it's a fraction of a pound at a time, if it's one healthy meal at a time, 1 5-minute workout at a time, progress is progress. And so when I was thinking more about this question, it almost sounded like, I don't know if you've ever heard the quote, comparison is the thief of joy. And if you are feeling like you're putting in all this effort and you're seeing other people maybe put in less effort but getting more results, or having other people have more success than you feel like you are, it's almost like you're letting their progress take away from your feelings of joy about your own progress. And like you said, there is no end game in living a healthy lifestyle. It becomes part of who you are. So there's no real measuring stick that you should be comparing yourself to. There's nothing that says by this date you should be here, or you should be at this weight, or at this level of fitness, or anything like that. If you are making progress, you are winning. You are winning. I think that's like the biggest, for me, was my biggest thing to have this person focus on, was you are making progress. Like, give yourself some dang credit. You know, we feel like we want to be so much further ahead or so much further along, but it's when you focus on the process rather than the outcome, that's where, what you said, when it becomes part of who you are and it's just inherently what you do, over time, it will feel like less and less effort to do that. So in the beginning, it absolutely feels like more effort, and you feel like, man, I'm trying so hard, and I'm not getting the results that I thought that I would. It's about changing that perception of the should. Like, where should you be? Well, I don't know. Like, should you be at 1 more pound lost or 5 more pounds lost? Like, there's no way to really measure that. So you're doing yourself a disservice when you're not giving yourself the credit that you have freaking earned. Like, you're working hard for it, so celebrate it. And like you mentioned, there are tons of other ways to celebrate progress. Not just a number on a scale, not just a number of pounds lifted or miles run. There are so many, those are ways, but there are so many more ways as well. And I think one of the things that can really help you see your progress on a smaller scale is something like a habit tracker, or I know you have people do food journaling and they will rate how they are feeling. Like, how did this food make me feel? There's a lot of subjective measures in addition to the measurements that we each have our clients doing, but you can, on a rating scale, just how good are you feeling? How much more energy do you have? Things like that. How much more confident do you feel? Things like that are the intangibles of getting healthy that you can't necessarily measure in terms of inches lost or pounds lost or things like that, but they are so impactful on the quality of life and also your motivation to continue. So I loved this question. I loved your answer to it. I think especially as women, we don't give ourselves enough credit. Like, you're freaking doing it. If you're progressing, you're doing it. So be proud of that and celebrate that.
Yes, I love that. Thank you for bringing that up, because I agree with you that we often don't celebrate our wins enough. And the thing about celebrating wins is it really does activate that reward center in your brain so that you have a positive connotation with it. It then becomes something that you're more likely to do. And then the habit becomes easier, just like you mentioned. So it is so important to recognize where you are progressing, to celebrate those wins, and to keep doing it over and over again, because it really will help to shift your mindset. And I think overall, what my last comment would be in regards to this question is, instead of looking at this in the negative standpoint of like, why am I not, at the level of someone else, let's say, Instead, let's look at this as the opportunity to completely shift our mindset and instead think, what are the ways that I am progressing? Just like you mentioned when you were speaking to this particular person, what are the ways that I am showing improvement in various areas? That's so integral to the healthy lifestyle journey. And it's so important to be able to see the improvements in your mind, not just in your body, too.
Yes, so good. Mind, body, all of it is what gets us healthy. So thank you for that. Thank you for being here, and we will see you in the next question.